Welcome to Ask the Funeral Director with Mike Voyajakis. Brought to you by Voyage Funeral Home and Crematorium. Now, here's your host, Brad Wilder. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to this week's edition of Ask the Funeral Director with Mike Voyajakis. I'm Brad Wilder. Good to have everybody along tonight. We've got lots to dive into. We're going to take a look at one particular family here in Winnipeg that's been through a traumatic experience. Criminality is involved, obviously, and women, females, need to pay attention because there's individuals doing some nasty things to females here in Winnipeg. We're going to talk about that. As you know, Mike is very anti-crime, and he has a lot to say about this particular topic coming up. We'll get to a video that has a great family discussing, well, what went on with their daughter. There's more to come, and it's all happening right here on Ask the Funeral Director right after this. At the Cork and Flame, we're always cooking and ready with the finest for all our customers any time of day or night. From breakfast brunch to lunch and dinner, steak and seafood to ribs and more. The Cork and Flame Fine Dining. Always fresh, with fabulous desserts and a narration of the urban landscape, plus a passion for quality food. Eat, drink, chill. Cork and Flame, 3106 Portage Avenue. There's no hurry, so sit back and relax. Welcome back, everybody. It's great to be back on a Wednesday night. Mike, great to have you on board. I thought we were going to miss you tonight, but I can't really do a show without you, can I?
You know, Brad, you kind of sound like a radio announcer.
Sometimes.
When you're kind of doing your thing, it's like, hey, sounds like a radio guy.
I was.
Were.
Many years of it. Many years of it. Radio, TV, and newspaper, Mike.
Before we say hi to some people, just want to say that last night we were at the Cork and Flame, and we were at a round table. About 100 people showed up, maybe more. It was a great night.
It was.
And we're going to be doing more. And last night we had Brian Mays on, who's a city councilor. And
well, you make it sound like we were there doing this.
You were there too.
I didn't do anything. Neither did you.
You did all the sound. I sat there.
You didn't do anything.
Asked a question.
Who's the guy in charge? You didn't even mention him.
Kevin from the Winnipeg Sun. I was just going to say. Okay. Kevin from the Winnipeg Sun puts this on. And the next one, we're going to have some sponsors that are going to sponsor the show. But thanks to Kevin from the Winnipeg Sun for using the Cork and Flame and putting on a great event. Again, Brian Mays was there talking about those houses that they're putting up, the fourplexes.
Yeah.
And it was really interesting conversation. There may be a fourplex in your neighborhood going up, and not too many people like that.
Could be right next door to your house.
Can you imagine?
Go, what's going on here?
You have this beautiful house you've invested all this cash in, and now you have a fourplex on either side of you. Because somebody could buy the property that's there, knock it down, put a fourplex up, and the city of Winnipeg makes it easy to do. So if you don't want this to happen in your neighborhood, you got to get out and fight it, and that's what it was all about yesterday. Who else was there yesterday? Wally
Dodridge.
Wally Dodridge was there. He's at tonight. They're doing another.
They are one more.
Yeah, one more at the Caboto Center.
More town halls, right? More town halls where they get to basically, talk about their platforms, talk a little bit about, what their ambitions are as they move forward into the political spectrum. Wally out of Churchill, actually. So when they come down to south here, guess what happens?
Wally said he's going to bring me out to Churchill. He says you got to experience Churchill. So Sharon and I will be going to Churchville in the near future, thanks to Wally.
Polar bears will be eating good that week.
There comes Mike Voyajakis. Before we get into some names, somebody walked up to me.
Are you going to call me names tonight?
Yeah, I always call you names. Somebody walked up to me this week and went, "Wow, man, I watched your show. I thought it would be morbid, like this show that talks about death, that's boring, and he said, I really liked it. And I'll be watching it again tonight. He said, it was a fun show, made me laugh, made me cry. It was really entertaining, and it's definitely not your average funeral director show.
True story.
Brad and I have to say hi to someone, because Brad made a promise.
I got to say hi to Auntie out there in Greece.
Who's in Greece watching with a bunch of her Greek friends. In Greece now, it's probably about 5 a.m. in the morning, so Kalimera says.
Good morning.
Can you say that? Kalimera.
Kalimera.
Yeah, there you go. Okay. He's going to be a Greek one day.
Maybe not.
On the show tonight, who took first place? Gord. Gord number 1 on there. And then Tickle, Tickle, Tickle was number 2. And Josh Voyajakis, sounds like my son,
It is.
number 3, and Steve Bage way down at number 4. And
One of your 5 kids, right?
yeah, one of my 5 kids. And then Dan Ross, good evening, Mike, Brad, and everyone else. Jeffrey, good evening, everyone, from Elm Creek. Hello again, Dan.
Michelle Ann Stringle Place is on. Well, that's 4 names in that name. Holy cow. She's from South Winnipeg. Debbie Lamoureux's here. John McMorrin, as well as Debbie McKenzie, Dan Ross, Cale Rathbone Hill. Janet Larson says hi from Smithers, BC. Well, hello right back to you. Josh says, hey, Dad. Hey, Brad.
Hey, Josh.
Hey, Josh.
Hey, Brad.
Hey, Mike.
Lori, hello, my Wednesday peeps. Yeah, it's kind of a Wednesday thing where people tune in and they have a lot of fun and they enjoy it. Donna Allen, woohoo! I made it on time. Hi, Mike, Brad, everyone online tonight. Hope you're all having a great time. And then Sandy, good evening, Mike and Brad.
Debbie Kwan, Gymnasium. I still think that's a fake
Gymnasium?
name.
No, I don't think so.
Gymnasium.
Gymnasium. Gymnasium.
It's Gymnasium. Come on.
Susan Allen.
Did you get picked last in gym class?
Yeah, of course. I was good at gym class. I love
Okay,
gym class.
all right.
Hi, Mike and Brad. From Wayne, Susan Alec, happy hump day. And to everyone else. Good old Wallace is on the show from Meadow Lake, Saskatchewan. And
Debbie, we already said hi to. So guys, just gotta go, guys. Just got hockey. Gotta go
look
have
who
a good
joined
hockey
us,
game.
Al Bueller.
Al,
Hey,
sir.
Josh, you're always making an excuse. I want Josh to come on the show. I want him to sit right here. Hey,
Yep.
we did that at the same time. I want him to sit right here and be part of the show. Maybe one day Josh will make a special
We
appearance.
have to bring these products in to put in place of Josh. We'll
Yeah,
talk about
yeah,
that in
like,
just a
look.
minute.
Yeah, what we're going to be doing again tonight in the near future.
Canada Nano Silver's back in the house.
Canada Nano Silver, Kevin and Anna. And tonight we're going to be giving away silver supplements. And we got a whole bag, believe it or not, a whole bag of supplements.
Did you put that stuff in your hair? Because your hair is silver.
My hair looks good.
I'm just asking.
You know, it's the person who does hair and makeup for us before the show.
Speck of gray.
I'm the person that does hair and makeup for Brad. Look how
Yeah,
good he looks.
sure. Yeah.
Imagine what I could do to your loved one. We're going to go to our first video of the night and then come back and talk some more. This video is really important. It touches home. But after we play it, it's 5 minutes long. It's worth it. Only because, so these people are from Buffalo Point. And as you know, I have my cottage out in Buffalo Point. So it kind of touches home. And not too many people took interest in this story, which was kind of not
Sickening.
So,
Sickening.
sickening, actually, because this is something that every one of you ladies need to watch out for. I don't care if you're white, Aboriginal, Filipino, China, it doesn't matter. A female's a female, and there's people out there doing bad things to females.
There is, and we're talking about vans driving around and nabbing girls and doing despicable things to them, and this can't continue in our city. We need to put a stop to this.
I keep talking about the crime in the city.
I
It's out of control. And
have some interesting ways to stop this all, but I'm not allowed to speak about that on this recording by any stretch. But
you know, this family has all the right to be upset, and this kind of reminds me.
it makes me upset. I don't even have a daughter involved.
Kind of reminds me of what happened to Brody Russell. Kind of reminds me of what happened to my brother Kyriakis. And you know, it's a story that people want to hide. They don't want to talk about it because it's real and it's happening in our city. So let's watch this video. We'll talk about it when we come back.
My name's Ernie Kobenis. I'm the father of Macy, my daughter Margaret Jr. Last night I was in Winnipeg yesterday and I was on my way home. I got home and I was just about to go to sleep for a night and I got a call on my phone there. My daughter messaged me and my phone was going off and he said, Dad, you need to call me right away, ASAP. So I called her and then she was crying on the phone, all hysterical, her and her mother, and I knew what was going on. She said, MJ got hit by a car or something like that. She says, you need to come in right away. So that's when we came in last night. And I got here probably about 4 o'clock this morning or something. And I found out that she was hit by a vehicle over in Osborne area, at the Confusion Corner area. She was attempted abduction. She says these guys were following her And when they pulled out, she pulled out the road, the car came up and then knocked her down, and they backed up again, and they drove over top her again, eh? Because she made eye contact with them, eh? So that's how she knew right away. And she was scared, eh? She didn't know what to do after they ran over. And I guess after they took off, there was a taxi there. She said the taxi wouldn't do nothing. He just kind of looked at her, trying to make it look like he was concerned, but he took off too right after that van. And then someone else pulled up to help her, eh? They called 911 and waited for the police and the ambulance to show up. So that's all I know for now. He's got a broken pelvis and ribs and a broken shoulder that they're going to go to surgery probably this evening. They're going to do surgery on her right away. All I know for now, and she's really sedated with a lot of meds. She's under a lot of pain. She's constantly crying, and she wants to thank everybody for their support and their concerns, and she wanted to make sure that her voice was heard and her story was heard, because she was very concerned of other women who go murdered and missing, and she didn't want to end up like that or any other woman. Because the worst thing we can do is be silent about stuff like this, because our silence just okays for people doing what they're doing to our women, eh? So again, I just want to send my condolences out to all the women, the grandmas, the aunties, the sisters, the granddaughters, the great-granddaughters, and the ones that are gone missing and stuff like that, and the families are going through the same thing we do. Now I understand how they feel. We always talk about, feeling and supporting other families until it happens to you. It's the different story.
What can you tell us about who your daughter is as a person, as a human being? Would you mind just describing us so the public knows more about her and who she is?
She's my youngest one. She's always been my little girl, eh? She's got two little girls that are home right now. They don't know what's going on. They haven't seen their mother. Now she's a victim of it, so it's hard to see my little girl laying there like that in pain and crying. And
what do you know about the police investigations?
I guess the police came by and they didn't really say much. They said they're going to look into it and see if they can see anything on camera, and they just gave her a incident number, a card, and they just walked out and left. So she did have little faith in the police system for any justice. Our people have always been and felt that way, that our women and our people don't mean anything to the justice system or court system, So I think that's why a lot of people think they can get away with what they're doing with our women.
My name is Carrie. I'm the sister of Macy. My mom was running around the house. I couldn't make sense of what she was trying to say because she went into shock, right? Hearing the police and ambulance saying that she's been hit and everything like that, and we don't know if she's stable or anything. So I'm like waking up and I'm, Mom, what's wrong? What's wrong? And she's like running away from me in the house and panicking, and she finally said, your sister's in the hospital. Did someone hit her? Or I couldn't make sense of it. I was just like, what? And I started trying to call my friends. I need a ride, I need to get to Osmond Village. And I started panicking. And then after I started calling her phone, it was just off. I don't know who had her phone, the police or the ambulance. After that, I came here in the emergency and I seen how she was in the bed, and I kind of just like thinking that, because there's so many missing and murdered Indigenous women, and it just came really hit close home to me, because I never thought like my little sister or anybody of my family members to get hurt like that. Like, we're talking about somebody abducting my sister, kidnapping her. Maybe she was going to be the next Indigenous girl in the landfill. That's why it's so hard, so good for my people to keep protesting to get those landfills looked at. And that's just the reality of it. My sister's in that hospital right now.
I'm Margaret. That's my daughter, Margaret Jr., Margaret Kobenes. Just very emotional. It's my baby, This happens too much in this city. Too much. And to see my baby laying up there suffer. She would never probably came home. And I'm so sick and tired of the treatment we get here as Indigenous people, because it's been going on for so long, too long. And they expect us to walk away from this, to never walk away from this. And if nobody wants to help us, we'll do it ourselves.
Well, that's a touching story. It's very saddening to find out that something like that has happened and that these families are going through this.
Let me
This
tell you
is
something, Brad.
disgusting.
If I was ever mayor of this city, this would never happen in my city, and if it would, there'd be consequences. This is happening in other places around the world where people are being abducted and things like this are happening, and there needs to be consequences to this crime. This is absolutely ridiculous, and you know what? Nobody took attention to this story, and you figure the mayor would be on national TV apologizing to this family and saying there will be justice served once we catch the person or the people that did this.
Yeah.
I'd call for nonsense.
Conor McGregor, UFC fighter, was down in the U.S. yesterday, and he was talking on behalf of Ireland, or
Exactly.
speaking about Ireland, maybe not quite talking on behalf of, but speaking about. And same things going on in Ireland, same things going on in Europe, same things going on in London. They're creating neighborhoods, and they've got individuals that are just demented.
And you know what? I know what this family is going through. I went through it with my brother. And what's really frustrating, I'm gonna just let this out. What's really frustrating is, well, I did a thing online where people could fill out. What was that called? We did a survey online, not a survey.
Petition.
A petition. We're both stuck for words. Anyways, I did a petition online, and that petition only has 900 people that signed it. Think about that.
Well, where can people go to sign that still?
Well, you could. I'll post it again on Ask the Funeral
All right,
Director
let's
again.
do that, yeah.
But get this. We have 900 people. We have 1 million people in Manitoba. 900 people sign it. What does that tell you? It tells you that nobody really gives a you-know-what about what happens in the city. If you want to stand up to crime, you got to make a difference. If we do a petition, that petition would be really powerful coming from a guy like me who's been fighting tooth and nail with the government, getting fines all the time, criticizing what's going on. And I'm criticizing this right now in the city of Winnipeg. This cannot go on. These people, when they get caught, there's got to be consequences, because if there's not, it's going to happen again. And for a taxi driver to pull up and to see what's happened and drives away,
yeah.
What does that tell you? How safe are we even in a cab? The girl got run over. She's got a broken pelvis. She has 2 little girls that she has to take care of. And her family has all the right in the world to be pissed off.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I'm pissed off about this because
this could be happening.
Scott Gillingham, you need to start standing up. You need to start being a mayor. You need to start being a people's mayor. This is ridiculous.
Accountable.
And you need accountability. And you know what? There is no accountability
Transparency.
in the city of Winnipeg. There is no transparency. There is no care. For a family like this, you should be standing by their side at the hospital and apologizing on behalf of the citizens of the city for what we allow to go on in the city. Maybe our new police chief,
Yeah,
maybe the
maybe.
new police chief will stand up and make a difference, because enough BS on our streets. And this is just a little bit of what's going on. This is just a touch of what's going on, and things that you don't even find out about, things that I find out about as a funeral director that are going on in the background. And you know what? I'm going to tell you something right now, and I'm frustrated. I'm just going to let this out. You know, I read a suicide note the other day from a 16-year-old boy. What did that note say? That little boy lost hope. He lost faith. He lost his way in life. Why? Because we're in darkness and there's no light. And that kid didn't see the light at the end of the tunnel, and he ended up taking his life. And we're wondering why? This is why the nonsense is going on in our city. People that are going to school in the city to become doctors and nurses and professionals are leaving the city and going to other cities where it's safer and people care. Winnipeg, it's time to stand up and make a difference.
100%, Mike. You know, there's been some great comments in our chat tonight that are talking back and forth about what's going on. Gillingham being a globalist, and he's quite fine with it. Obviously, the New World Order and the WEF are definitely part of this city. And, you know, we sit, and I think it's pretty much any city in Canada is involved in this because they've all got parliamentary buildings. Yeah. And that's where things go kind of south in that regard.
Gillingham could take time to be at the convention center today to talk about fourplexes. That's more important than the citizens of the city. And you know who's putting up the fourplexes? And it's wrong that they got one plan and they're putting that same plan in place over and over and over again. And yet small businesses that are trying to operate in the city are being attacked constantly by the city of Winnipeg.
Yeah, I was going to say you can expect him to send the inspectors over to see it.
And every time I say something negative against the city, you know what? I'm not being mean. I'm not trying to be destructive. I'm not trying to put down the city of Winnipeg. But they're not doing anything about it. Let's face it, we have a problem in the city, and more of us need to stand up.
As a citizen, you have every right to hold them accountable for the job that they're doing, and that's part of it. And we can't deny that ultimately it's our tax dollars that even employs these people. Yeah. So as we work towards a better future, we need to make sure we empower the right people to do the right things as we move into the future, because without those individuals, the wrong things can keep getting done. And that's where we've been a long time now.
And Wanda says something up there, and I keep talking about this all the time. I fear for my grandchildren, and you should. And you should, because what happens in the city over and over again, I'll talk about it again, what happens in the city is the catch and release. So these people get arrested, and then they're released on bail the very next day.
That's right.
It doesn't matter how bad the crime is. They're released the very next day. No accountability whatsoever, and no consequences for the crime that you've committed. So if you have that happening and there's no consequences, be assured it's going to happen over and over again. And this family said it best. I never thought this would happen to our family. That's what they said. And you know what? I've said it over and over again. I never thought that we would lose Kyriakis. I never thought this would happen to our family. And I never did. I never thought my brother would get murdered at work, brutally murdered, and then the games and the lies and everything else that went on. But I got good news for you. In 2 weeks, I'm going to get the medical examiner's report and the autopsy report.
Oh, yeah?
And it's just beginning, my friends.
Good.
It's just beginning. I waited 1 year and 2 months for this. Evil is roaming this city. It's out of control. We need new leadership, and we need people to care. We need people to put people first. That's the bottom line. Otherwise, like you said, your grandchildren and great-grandchildren have no future in the city. Canada Nano Silver, we're going to be giving away this tonight.
We usually
right
do
now.
that way up.
Yeah, we're going to do it before our next video. Actually, during the video, you could be throwing numbers on there, and this way we're not wasting valuable time.
Yeah.
So this is a silver supplement. Now, Kevin and Anna have given us a whole bag of things. I got a whole bunch of goodies in here that I'm going to be giving away over the next little while. So we picked a number. It's 1 to 100. We're going to play this next video, and while we're doing it, you can be the winner of this. So 1 to 100, you can start now, and we'll go to the next video in the meantime. And this is an interesting video. Please watch it and see what happened in the House of Commons.
Have put forward a motion, the Conservative Party has put forward a motion to compel the Prime Minister's Chief of Staff, Katie Telford, to appear at committee and tell Canadians what she
we got a
knew
video problem here again.
about foreign interference from the
73,
Communist
42. Oh, hang on, I got to
regime
go
in
back here
Beijing.
because I was watching. Give me a second. Okay, 81, 69, 42, 73, 59, 12. All wrong so far. Kathy Tickle. Do we qualify for the prize? Of course you do. Tickle, tickle, tickle. We wouldn't have it any other way.
The Liberals have gone to
77, number 12, 73, 22, 77, 74, 33, 21. We're whipping through them. 50, 11, 22, 72, 43, 4, 16, 64, no, 38, 16, 7.
All right, let's do this. Let's play this video, and we'll get back to
Keep
this.
guessing those numbers.
Yeah,
We're
keep
doing a
guessing.
video.
All right, here we go.
Calling the Hepatology Clinic at the Health Sciences Centre, Winnipeg.
Jeff Willison's days look a lot like this.
If this is an emergency, go to your nearest emergency department or call 911.
This cancer patient
her,
recently did just that. Last Friday, chest pains landed him in the St. Boniface
Okay.
Hospital ER.
98,
But the first
55,
thing that
17,
came to my mind
98
was
again.
Warzone.
Are they
It
able
was
to
a
vote for
complete
Gillingham?
traffic jam.
Yes. 15, 29, 19, 67, 89, 13, 100. All these are wrong. Jim, 87. Susan, 21. Steve Age, 15. Lulu, number 88. Kevin, people are trying really hard to get this product from Canadian Nano Silver. 12, 3, 8, 10, all wrong. 1, 99, 67. I can tell you this has something to do with the Winnipeg Jets. 76, 98, 60, 33. I feel like I'm calling bingo. 98, 1, 25, 2, 98, 68, 64, 83, 55, 19, 49, 84. Wow. 49 again. 9, 50, 1, 1, 1, 65, 7, 71, 42, 4. You guys are missing one number. 80, 97, 33, 19. Wow, can't believe it. 51, 66. Is this going to be a half an hour doing this? 17, 15, 13, 70, 58, 64, 83, 55, 19, 49. Nobody's getting this number. 9, 50. Maybe somebody from Greece will get it. 1, 65, 7, 71, 42. Ah, you guys are just missing this. 4.
The Jets started
80.
in what year?
No, that's not what it is. 97, 33, 13, 4. Okay, I'm going to give you a chance to figure this out. How many games have the Winnipeg Jets won this year? That's the answer to the question. How many games have the Winnipeg Jets won this year? Everyone's Googling this right now. And that will give you the number that we're looking for tonight to give away our products. Try to keep up with the numbers going so fast here. 0. Oh, geez. 23, 6. This is way down here already. 23, 44. I'm way behind here. I'm going to see if I can... oh, here it is, 47. Susan Carrier got it, 47. 47 wins for the Winnipeg Jets this year. That's what gives us this number. So, wow, that took a long, long time to get that, Steve Million. So thank you for guessing again. The product we're giving away is
So the NDP have
Silver Supplement from Canada Nano Silver. You can go to their website. This has silver technology in it. And I'm going to show you what we're going to give away next week in the meantime. In the magic bottle comes another prize here. Kevin's given me a whole bunch of things here. Next week we're going to be giving away this skin cream. So it's Silver Biotics. So next week you can kind of win this. Unscented, of course. So you could pick this up from Voyage Funeral Home. Congratulations. And just call before you come. We'll have it ready for you. And that's Voyage Funeral Home on Henderson and Hespeler. Or you could send somebody to pick it up for you as long as we know ahead of time. So are we almost ready with that video, Brad?
or their corruption.
We're getting there.
That
So
all
that petition,
House business.
we have a petition set up. If you want to go on, it's either on michaelvoyajakis@gmail.com or Ask the Funeral Director. There's a petition you can sign, and that petition I would present to Parliament once we had enough signatures in there. We need thousands of signatures. They don't even look at it if there's like 800 signatures on there. That's kind of a joke. So if you can, go out there and do that. Again, the Winnipeg Sun will be presenting another show at the Cork and Flame in a couple of weeks. We're going to update you on that, and it's going to be a lot of fun. If you can't get it, Brad, we'll just go right into the questions. Kathy Tickle says, congratulations to the winner, but my birthday was on Saturday. Hint, hint,
Speaker
LOL.
has just
Happy birthday,
recently
Kathy
ruled
Tickle.
that
I
all
hope you had a great
House
day.
business, all government business must be put aside
Nothing?
while members
All
of
right.
Parliament consider liberal corruption.
Video's
First-
working when I sent it to you, Brad. Okay, let's go to the first question. If we can't get that on, we'll just have to bypass all that and go on to the first question of tonight's show.
Stop using Instagram.
That's actually YouTube videos.
Yes.
I want to talk about something else. One of the videos that I was going to share tonight is about what happened to a friend of mine who went to the hospital this weekend.
Landed him
So went
in
to
the
the
St.
hospital,
Boniface
and
Hospital
he went to Health
ER.
Science Center
But the
first.
first thing
And
that
Health Science Center
came
is
to my
like
mind
walking
was
into
war
a
zone.
prison. It's
It
terrible
had
in there.
complete
There's more security in there than there
traffic
is
jam with-
people.
with
The place is a
chaos.
mess.
He says
It's,
what happened there has shaken
they need
his
to do something
trust
about
in
it.
healthcare.
You know, our premier
It's
needs to
never
step
been
up to
lower.
the plate and do something with our hospitals.
know what a
So
person's
my friend
supposed to
who's going through
I
cancer
just came in by
treatments right now, for almost 24 hours sitting in emergency. And in one of the videos I was going to play tonight was going to talk about that. 24 hours sitting in emergency is ridiculous. No wonder so many people are dying in emergency, waiting for treatment. It's unacceptable. We live in such a wealthy city. The province of Manitoba is such a wealthy place, and people should not having, like, if we can't take care of our own citizens and this province, we shouldn't be bringing more people in. That's the bottom line. We need to be able to take care of the people that live here. They need to get proper health care. They need to be able to see a doctor. They shouldn't be waiting not even 3 hours to see a doctor. That's ridiculous. And, you've heard it before, how many people have died waiting in emergency for doctors. Let's clean up these emergency rooms. Let's get proper doctors and nurses in there. Let's make people a priority. We are a priority. That's not what's happening in these hospitals. And I'm really feeling bad for my buddy, and it put tears in my eyes to know that he was sitting in that hospital with his wife hours and hours and hours. You're dealing with an issue already in your mind, and then you're dealing with sitting there and waiting for a doctor to see you. Just ridiculous. We're ready for the first question of the night, Brad?
Yeah, we are. When someone dies and the family wants a viewing, are the contact lenses removed, Mike? Kathy wants to know.
Good question. So a lot of people ask, do you remove the contact lens? So listen, when you're doing cremation, those contact lenses stay on. So during cremation, we don't remove contact lenses or any of that kind of stuff. Those stay on the individual that we're gonna cremate. But on the other hand, if you're wanting to do a viewing or a traditional service, we do take the contact lenses out. And the reason we do that is we need to put eye caps in. And I left the funeral home today and I forgot to bring the eye caps. I wanted to bring some eye caps and show you what they look like and actually show you what they do in the eye and how they keep your eye lid closed. So maybe on the next show I'll bring some eye caps down and some pacemakers and some hips and knee replacements and stuff like that, so you can see what we see when we get the body out of the cremation machine. So yeah, we
how about some clots?
I'm not going to bring the clots in right now.
Embalming clots.
We'll talk about other things for now.
Just asking.
I think people need a break from the clots and all that kind of stuff.
I think people need to still see that that's still happening.
It's still happening. It's a reality, and I think people do know that. I'm seeing the comments about the healthcare, and yes, it is unfortunate, and it's actually infuriating to know that somebody is going through cancer treatments and has to put up with that. Think about this being one of your family members. Would you like it? Would you say something? Would you make some noise? It's time these hospitals, the healthcare system in general needs to take responsibility. And I hate to be picking on people again, but Wab Canoe, you need to step up to the plate and treat our citizens fairly. How would you like your family member to be sitting there for 24, 25, 26 hours waiting to see a doctor? These people aren't going into the hospital because they're feeling good. They're going there because they have an issue and they're sick and they need to be treated.
All right, next question is, I have a question that's been on my mind for some time. Do you remove the blood, meaning from all bodies, or just the bodies that are going to be embalmed for viewing? Brittany wants to know.
Yeah, another good question. So people ask this all the time, and if you go to the wrong funeral home, you're going to pay the price. If you ask this question to the wrong funeral home, they'll tell you, well, it's mandatory to embalm a body prior to cremation. It's mandatory to view that body prior to cremation, and they charge you for all that. That's because you're sitting with a salesperson who's going to get as much money out of you as possible. So when we're doing a simple cremation, I want you to know what happens. So we go to the hospital, care home, whatever the case may be, and if the forms are signed, we go directly to the crematorium. There's no in between. And then the cremation takes place once we have that cremation authorization form signed. The only time that we remove blood or fluids from the body is when an embalming is going to take place. And that's when we take the blood out from the body and replace it with chemicals. And what does that do? Preservation, restoration, and sanitization. That's the reason we embalm a body. So there's your answer to that question.
All right, so do morticians normally drain the blood down the sink or the toilet, or where do they put that, Mike? Curious George wants to know.
You're not going to, Curious George, you're not going to like the answer to this. Just like any chemical waste that comes out of your body.
No, don't tell him.
When you embalm somebody, anything that comes out from in the human body while you're embalming, including the clots,
don't tell him,
get flushed down the toilet. They go into the sewer system and then down to the plant that cleans the water or stuff. You got to wonder. You got to wonder. Oh. Now, when you're flushing chemical waste down the toilet and into the sewer system, how do they clean something like that? Like, how do they get bloodborne pathogens clean? And how do they, always a good question I had in my own mind. I'd like to know the answer to that. But yeah, that's what happens. Your fluids get flushed right into the system where everything else goes.
Yeah, and then I've heard of things draining into the Red River and the Assiniboine River too here in Manitoba. So
Well, they say
what's going
there's
on?
millions and millions of gallons of water going into the river daily because their plant's broken.
So raw sewage is what you're saying?
Raw sewage. So think about the river.
The sewage that we're talking about flushing down the toilet, like
Think about the river, the fish, people swimming in that river or water skiing or whatever they're doing. All that stuff that's getting
people
placed
don't go in that
the
water
river.
still, do they? We wouldn't go in it in the 80s,
you know
let
what?
alone 2025.
I know this summer I'm watching somebody water ski in the Red River and I'm going, you can't be serious.
Oh man, one bad wipeout and you're drinking, and the next thing you know,
Yeah, you know
you're
what I mean?
stinking.
It seems like when you go into the water, you're always swallowing a little bit of water, or, getting water in your.
I couldn't shower fast enough if I got my toe wet or my pinky, let alone anything else.
Shitty
Oh, wow.
situation. That's all I can say about it.
Oh, yeah. You're pretty funny tonight. Corny. Okay, on last week's show, you talked about breast implants.
Oh, no.
We're going to bring
Breast
up boobs
implants
again.
Jeez.
Every time we talk about boobs, man, it just goes wild. So we'll talk about breast implants some more.
Did you say boobs?
Boobs. Whether they are removed or not. My question this week is, do you dress a person in bra, panties, and all the rest, or is the body fully dressed? Socks, nylons, whatever they choose.
Yeah. So families come in and
I'm going like birthday suit.
Good question. So it was funny. Last week we talked about what you do with breast implants, and the comments just like lit up. And now people bring breasts back up again, boobs, as he says. But anyways, when you bring a bra in, the funeral director will put the bra. Let's just say I put more bras on than I've taken off. There's a lot of bras that we put on, and most people that have their loved one come into the funeral want them fully dressed with their panties and undergarments or whatever you want to call it, bras and nylons and shoes and dresses and everything else that they have on. So that's up to you. So if you want your loved one fully dressed, then we'll do that for you. If you bring whatever you bring, we put on.
Here, just put your foot in. Oh man.
You really do that.
It's funny because you give away everything. There's no holding back on this show whatsoever about anything. It's just like smack right in the face.
Listen, people need to know the truth of what happens. And you know what they say, curiosity killed the cat.
Have you dressed somebody in pajamas, nightgowns, naked, shared love stories? What's the deal? Lindsay wants to
share a story. I didn't say share love stories.
Oh, I thought it was love stories with the love in there. I saw the heart, man.
Share a story, love. Love
your stories. Oh, love your stories. Okay, you got great stories.
So Lindsay, yeah. So when people come in, we dress the person how they want. So there's a lot of people that say, when I go to sleep, I don't wear a suit and tie or a gown or anything like that. I wear pajamas. So we've dressed people in pajamas. We've dressed people in their robes. We've dressed people not at all naked, where they want to just be placed in the casket naked, wrapped in a sheet. So it's what your wishes are. A funeral director should honor your wishes, and there's lots of stories I could share about dressing people in things that I remember a family came in one time, and obviously the person had a personality, and they brought clothing that was very provocative, and they said, dress her like a hooker.
Oh wow, what happened there?
Oh, so we dressed her the way she wanted to be dressed, but that was her wishes. Bright red dress, short, and short top with cleavage, and then in the afternoon we had somebody in pajamas. It's whatever the family wants. We don't discriminate.
So how does a mortician dress a deceased individual, Mike, especially if they've gained or lost weight during their illness, for example? Do you cut clothing? Do you have to rehem things? Sharon wants to know.
Hey, Sharon. Hey, talking about Sharon, hopefully Sharon, my wife's watching the show. Hey, maybe she's asking this question.
Maybe.
Trying to figure out what I'm doing.
Could be.
So when you bring somebody in, and let's just say they've gained a whole bunch of weight, but they had a favorite dress or suit that they want to wear. So as morticians, you're kind of magicians in the same way, where you could do a lot of cool things with a little bit of stitching, a little bit of cutting. So I'd be lying to you if I told you that we don't cut clothing. So sometimes if we have a hard time fitting somebody into a suit or fitting somebody into a dress, we have no choice but to cut and tuck. Does that make sense? Cut and tuck. So you would never know because we make it look so natural. But sometimes it's just something you need to do because of somebody losing a lot of weight or gaining a lot of weight. So yeah, it's a interesting way of doing things.
Well, another weird question tonight. Sophia says, does a mortician take the piercings of the deceased out? Are they piercings then given back to the family? Like earrings, nipple piercings, earring piercings.
Oh my God, you with those nipple
lip.
things again.
No, this is coming right off the question. I'm not making anything up here. Other piercings in private areas. It's just a question. I mean, you seem to answer them all. So what's the answer with that one?
It's funny, right? So yeah, we do see all kinds of piercings in all kinds of places, including those private spots. But we usually don't remove piercings unless the family asks us to. So in order to embalm, we'll remove piercings that are in the way of us embalming. But we always tell families, if a person has earrings on or something that you want to keep for sentimental value, to keep those. So when it's in private areas or, on breasts or lips or whatever the case may be, we pretty much leave those piercings where they were. Unless the family says, we want those piercings from every area of the body, we want to keep them for sentimental value. Now, people can't tell you, a funeral director should not be telling you, we can't do that. We do what you need us to do. You're the boss, we're working for you, and that's the way it is, and that's the way it should be.
You got me. I mean, this is going to be another big night of people watching our show because you're talking about all the topics that they love to talk about. And it's a funeral director show, so I'm not sure how boobies, piercings in private places all get in there, but
it's all part of the human body, Brad.
Does the funeral director or mortician give the deceased a haircut, hair coloring, styling to go along? Do they ever call a hairdresser, or do you bring in a hairstylist? Who's going to take care of hair and makeup?
Wendy's got an interesting question there, right? So we do. So the good thing about when I give haircuts is, you only have to cut the front of the hair, like right here. That's it. Because the person's laying in a pillow and you don't see the back of their head. So I have no problem cutting a man's hair and making him look very, very presentable. And when it comes to females, we do all kinds of things like curl hair. We've had to dye hair before. I remember the first time they brought hair dye into the funeral. Can you dye her hair? It's gray now, but we want it to be blonde. And it was the first time I ever, put coloring in somebody's hair. And I did it. And the person looked amazing, but it was quite the mess and quite the experience at the same time. As far as cosmetics go, I specialize in cosmetics. And I love doing cosmetics on whether it's a male or female and trying to make them look as natural as possible without even knowing that they have cosmetics on. And that's the secret to it, is trying to make somebody look as natural as possible without people going, oh my God, look how much makeup my dad's wearing. He never wore makeup. And that's something we never want to hear. And the best thing you can hear, the biggest compliment you can hear from any family member is when they stand in front of the casket and they go, my dad looks way better than he did in the hospital.
And that's a big compliment. I agree.
That's a huge compliment. Or when people say, my dad looks like he's just sleeping, just peaceful. And that's the memory you have in your mind. And if you walk into a funeral home and, that person looks terrible and is loaded with cosmetics and just looks, not like that person. I remember going to a funeral of a friend of mine's dad. I wasn't a funeral director back then. And I went into the funeral and they did such a bad job that he looked like a Martian. I'm not even kidding. And that picture stuck in my head still today. And that was probably about 30 years ago that I went to that funeral. And I just couldn't believe that they had an open casket. And I couldn't believe how bad of a job they did and how much makeup and cosmetics they put on the person and made him look like something out of this world. And the family was crying and disappointed. And I'll never forget, the wife screaming at the funeral director back then. And in my mind, I was thinking, if I ever become a funeral director, I never want to go through this.
Pretty wild. Donna says, has a fight ever broken out at a funeral? Our family's still fighting over the COVID thing.
So a lot of families are still fighting over the COVID thing. You figure they'd be over it. You figure they would know the truth by now. The truth is out everywhere that I think COVID was really a stronger version of the flu. And families fought about it over and over again and hated each other and continue to hate each other. And have mourners ever fought at a funeral? Absolutely. It was a little while ago when we were in the chapel that a huge fight broke out. I wasn't there. but one of the people that was ushering and helping at the funeral had to jump in, and it was somebody that walked up to the front pew and punched one of the family members right in the face as hard as he could, and then the whole chapel erupted into a fight. People standing in, trying to help each other. Police were called. It was terrible, and we're starting to see more and more family feuds at funerals. And that's disturbing when you just can't have peace. The day somebody passes away is supposed to be the most peaceful day of their life, and families are supposed to come together and love each other that day. But the opposite happens a lot of times. And it's terrible when you start hearing the FUs across the chapel and, people throwing out name calling and stuff like that. And it's disturbing, and it's not something you want to. And as a funeral director, you really would never want to get in there and try and break up a fight between family members, but you have to. And when the police come in there, they're not carrying; they're just coming in there and pulling out their pepper spray and doing what they want to do to stop the fight. So yes, it has happened a few times under my watch as a funeral director.
All right, Mike,
Mary says, our family had a fight in the parking lot at my dad's wake. Wow.
That can happen too.
Yeah.
Is it true that there are professional mourners, people who get hired to cry at funerals, Jessica says?
Yeah, I'm never going to forget the first time, Jessica, that I worked the funeral service, and there was professional mourners at the service. But me being a new funeral director, I didn't realize what was going on. And the crying and people banging their heads on the casket and freaking out and screaming and yelling. I still remember those devastating screams today in my heart, how it touches you when somebody's so devastated and the screaming is so loud and the crying is like nonstop over and over and over again. And I can't believe that there's actually professional mourners. And that happens with a lot of European families where they hire mourners to come and cry. And wow, it was quite the experience when I first saw that happen. I want to read a couple of these comments here. Wallace says, it was the flu weaponized. Absolutely. Mary says, my aunt was the most beautiful corpse I've ever seen. Amazing job. Yeah, you know what? It's true. See, that's what you remember. So when you see somebody in a casket, you always remember of what they look like at one time, not what they look like now. You're gonna go to the next question, but I'm gonna just read a message that I got here.
Do morticians need to take a mental health and stability examination to get their certificate to work as a funeral director or even a mortician? And do you have free access to therapy? Like working on dead people must take its toll on you every single day. Michael wants to know.
It is. I want to come back to this question. I just want to, before I forget, I want to wish my mother-in-law, Sharon's mom, a 90th birthday on Thursday.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday tomorrow. I guess I'll be going over for cake. So happy birthday, Joan. I hope you have a blessed and awesome day filled with family and lots and lots of love. So happy 90th birthday. 90. Do you want to live to be 90, Brad?
No.
90. I always think about, and you probably think about this yourselves in the comment section, how long do you want to live? Like, what's the final time where you want to say goodbye? And I always say, for myself anyways, because you think about your mortality all the time as a funeral director, I want to live as long as I could take care of myself. Yeah, that's right. I don't want somebody changing my diapers. I don't want to lose my dignity. I don't want to, and Joan is great. My mother-in-law, she's, able to do things, and they're in their own house still, her and Alan, my father-in-law. So, if you're in that situation, it's awesome. You know what I mean? I love it. And if I can be in that situation at 90, I'd love to be here. Anyways, would you mind repeating that question one more time? Oh, happy birthday, Joan. In the comment section, it's like, she's probably going to read this, or she's probably going to watch the show. So she'll go, my son-in-law said happy birthday to me.
So again, the question, do morticians need to take a mental health and stability examination?
Okay, so let's stop there. So we don't have to take a mental health and stability, of anything, but we should. Because to be a funeral director, you should be in the right frame of mind to be able to deal with death, to deal, the consequences that come with death and the actions and everything that happens during death. You figure that they would make that part of a course where they make sure that you're able to handle the mental pressure, what you deal with every day, the young deaths, the suicides, the sudden deaths, the tragic deaths, everything that we deal with on an everyday basis. Next part of that, Brad, is...
Well, do you have free access to therapy yourself? working on dead people must take its toll on you daily.
So we don't have access to therapy. I mean, we could, I guess, if we want. My therapy is being here with you and talking. Therapy.
Yeah, my head's full. I need therapy now.
I talk to Brad every day. It's my therapy. But you know what? Therapy for me really is, getting on the lake and going fishing and just enjoying the sun, even if you don't catch any fish. Being with my family and having special times with them and just getting away and laughing and building memories. Therapy is something that brings you peace, something that takes you away from work and takes you somewhere else together. I have a Harley, and I love riding my Harley Davidson down the highway, and just that wind blowing through your face and your hair, and that's just therapy, the best therapy you could ever get. And I think as a funeral director, the one thing you need to learn is not to take your job home with you. Don't take that pressure home with you. Leave it at work, and that's the best therapy there. You're going in to do a job, no different than being a soldier where you got to go to war and maybe take somebody's life, but you're there because you're doing a job. And being a mortician or a funeral director is doing the same thing. You're going to work to do a job. It's a job, and you've chosen to do that job. So you need to be mentally prepared for what you're going to deal with and what you're going to see. And even though it's heartbreaking sometimes, you need to learn to walk away from it and not let you, let it eat your hearts. I think the hardest thing, again, that I ever had to do as a funeral director and as a human being is, one, work on my father. And, but my dad was 77, and I miss him dearly. But second, the hardest thing I ever had to do, and if you want to talk about mental therapy, was working on my younger brother and seeing my brother in the condition he was in. That was probably the hardest thing I've ever had to do as an individual, as a funeral director, or as a human being. And to be able to walk away from that and find some kind of peace, some kind of therapy that helps you deal with it, that's my way of dealing with it. Maybe talking to God, in my heart, and try to make sense of it all. That's what brings me therapy. So good question, but I think everybody deals with that in a different way. Some people need to lie on a couch and tell their problems to a therapist.
So Terry says, I'm actually going to a funeral in Calgary this week. Is wearing black to funerals still a thing, or can I wear neutral colors? Is it okay to go in jeans and a t-shirt? I've never been to a funeral, so please advise, and thank you in advance.
So Terry, that's an awesome question. And the reason it's a good question is I get really frustrated at funerals these days because it seems like the respect for funerals has disappeared, vanished. People walking in with baseball caps and walking in with muscle shirts and shorts and sandals, bringing in their Tim Hortons coffees and Slurpees and all that kind of stuff. And when we say to them at the door, well, you should take off your hat, or you can't bring in, coffee or Slurpees, people get really offended. They go, why? Well, because it's somebody's funeral. And it's a respectful thing to do. So in my opinion, there's a lot of people that wear jeans and, a nice shirt, but I think you just need to look respectable. That's all it is. And I think we need to bring respect back to funerals, dignity back to funerals, where a family member is mourning and, they don't want to hear somebody drinking a Slurpee in the background or having, slurping away at their coffee.
So no smoking weed and drinking alcohol at the funeral home.
You walk outside the funeral home, there's people smoking weed these days and doing all kinds of things. There's just a time and a place for everything. And I think there's nothing wrong with wearing a pair of dress pants and, a nice shirt, maybe a suit and tie, just to show your respect to the family. And I guess what it really comes down to is, how did that person dress in their life? Were they a jeans person, and were they, a muscle t-shirt person? Were they, from a biker community? I don't know. I guess you got to dress for the occasion, as they say. But when it comes to, let's just say my dad's funeral, my dad was always a good-looking guy, good dressing. Hey, Mike, you're dressing nice when you go somewhere, huh? You look respectful. So I believe that should happen. So, Mike, you should do an impression of your dad. I just did. My dad would be saying, shut up, Mike. My dad would say, shut up on your face.
Is it normal to pre-plan a funeral, Mike, before someone dies? Because, well, to Barbara, it seems a little taboo.
Well, to Barbara and a lot of people, they think it is taboo to pre-plan a funeral service. They think, oh my God, if I pre-plan my funeral service, I'm going to die. But that's not the case. My dad and mom were kind of like that too. My mom kind of changed her tune, so did my dad. But when you're pre-planning a funeral, it is really a gift of love to your family. 100% gift of love to your family, because it takes the burden of them having to go into a funeral home, maybe being taken advantage of, maybe, when you lose a loved one, there's a lot of emotions that go through your head. Kubler-Ross wrote a book about death and dying and the stages of dying. But sometimes you go through guilt, and guilt makes you spend money. So you think, oh my God, how can I make it better? The last thing that I said to my mom, I'll buy her a $20,000 casket. Well, that doesn't resolve anything. We need to take the guilt away while we're here and alive, and say what we need to say to our parents, and tell them we love them and forgive them, and make amends with everybody before we die. So when you walk into a funeral home and you're pre-planned, a funeral director can never take advantage of you. Your families come in, they've made their wishes, they've paid, they've taken the burden away, the financial burden, and then they've taken the burden away of a family walking in at need and being taken advantage of. And you make your wishes known, which is more important than anything else. If you're not pre-planned, if you don't have a will, good time to do that is right now. Make a note. I need to make a will. I need to pre-plan my funeral. And it doesn't matter how old you are. It doesn't matter how old you are. It's important to have these documents in place, because you never know. Just like this family said today when we played the first video, and just like my family says, we never thought this was going to happen to us. And all of a sudden it does. And we'll talk about crime in the city one more time, because we got a couple of minutes. The crime is out of control. Talk to your kids. Tell your kids to be safe. Talk to your elderly parents. There's scams going on every day of the week. And it's unfortunate that our elderly parents, now spring's coming, they're going to want to walk in their neighborhoods. But the crime is so bad that people are afraid to walk in their neighborhoods. And again, I encourage Scott Gillingham, who's supposed to be the mayor of our city, to stand up, make a difference, take care of your citizens. And I don't know if you have grandkids, but what you're doing is for your grandkids and their future and their safety. And, we should know that when our kids are going to school, they're safe walking to school, and they're safe when they're all playing with their friends. And that goes for, people like my brother's age or your age, Brad, or anybody, going shopping, or this poor lady who was, walking and getting, dragged into a car and dragged down the street and run over and having to deal with this is what the consequences mean. She's going to have consequences to this crime and be a victim of her own crime, right? For years to come, to fix a broken pelvis and to deal with the injury she's dealing with. That's why the justice system needs to smarten up, and they need to start realizing that the victim is not the person that caused this. And the person that did cause this crime, that's abducting people, either needs to be sent back to their country if they're from another country here on a visa or whatever the case may be. But we're not going to tolerate this in Manitoba. We're not going to tolerate this in the city. The subduction of women, the Aboriginal women who've been dumped in dumpsters and thrown in garbage dumps, unacceptable. It's unacceptable whether you're Aboriginal, white, black. It doesn't matter. People are people, and people come first, and that's what's important. Take care of your citizens. Take care of each other. Thank you for watching another edition of Ask the Funeral Director. Sorry we couldn't get all the videos to you tonight.
Well, I know you're going to pick better videos next week.
Take care of yourselves and each other. God bless you and your families. Don't forget to like, share, and follow the show. Good night, folks.
Good night, everybody.